What is intonation? Intonation is the rise and fall of pitch in your voice as you speak. It's like a musical melody that adds feeling to your words. Intonation can change a statement into a question, show enthusiasm, or indicate uncertainty. In English, we often use rising intonation for questions and falling intonation for statements. Here's an example. Are you going to the store? Rising intonation at the end, showing it's a question. I'm going to the store. Falling intonation, making it a statement. Practice saying these sentences out loud with rising and falling intonation. Notice how the different tones affect the meaning. Types of intonation patterns. In English, there are a few common intonation patterns. Rising intonation for yes-no questions. When asking yes-no questions, your pitch rises at the end. For example, do you like pizza? Try saying this with a rising pitch at the end. Falling intonation for statements and which questions. Statements and which questions, who, what, where, when, why, usually have a falling intonation. For example, I like pizza, or what are you doing? Rise-fall intonation for lists and choices. When listing items, your pitch often rises and then falls on the last item. For example, I bought apples, oranges, and bananas. Your pitch rises on apples and oranges, but falls on bananas to show the end of the list. Fall rise intonation for uncertainty or politeness. A fall rise intonation can indicate uncertainty or politeness. For example, I'm not sure, maybe? This pattern is often used to sound polite or less direct. By practicing these patterns, you'll find that English sounds more natural and expressive. It's a great way to add emotion and context to your words, helping you sound more like a native speaker. Common mistakes with stress and intonation. As a beginner, you may face some challenges with stress and intonation, such as stress on the wrong syllable. If you stress the wrong syllable, it can change the meaning of a word or make it difficult to understand. For example, stressing the second syllable in comfortable, which should be comfortable, makes the word sound unnatural. Using the same tone for everything, some learners tend to speak in a flat tone without variation, which can make English sound monotone and confusing. Practice adding rise and fall to your tone to make your English sound more engaging. Rising intonation on statements. In some languages, rising intonation at the end of a sentence can indicate politeness, but in English, it usually signals a question. Be careful to end statements with a falling intonation. Practical exercises for stress and intonation. Here are some exercises to help you master stress and intonation. Record and listen. Choose a few sentences and record yourself saying them with different intonations. For example, are you coming to the party? Rising for a question. I am coming to the party. Falling for a statement. I bought apples, oranges, and bananas. Rise fall for a list. Listen to the recording to hear if your tone rises and falls correctly. Repeat until you feel comfortable with each intonation. Practice with emotion. Pick a sentence and say it in different emotional tones. For example, I can't believe it. Say it with excitement, surprise, and doubt. Notice how each intonation changes the meaning and feeling of the sentence. Mirror practice for stress. Look in a mirror and practice a few phrases, emphasizing the stressed words. For example, She bought a new car. I didn't finish the report. Seeing yourself while practicing helps you become more aware of how stress and intonation affect your facial expressions and energy. How stress and intonation impact fluency. Mastering stress and intonation will make your English sound more fluent and natural. These techniques add rhythm, making your words flow smoothly and giving listeners clear signals about what's important. Fluency isn't just about speed, it's about speaking with a rhythm that feels natural. By practicing stress and intonation, you'll gain a smoother flow, making your speech sound confident and fluent. Keep practicing and don't be afraid to experiment. Learning stress and intonation is a journey. The more you listen, practice, and experiment with your voice, the more comfortable you'll become. Over time, these elements will feel like a natural part of your English. Remember, as the poet Maya Angelou said, "We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated." Keep practicing and don't be discouraged by mistakes. Every time you practice, you're getting closer to achieving natural, fluent English pronunciation. Chapter 5. Linking sounds for smoother speech. We've covered the basics of phonetics, stress, and intonation. Now let's talk about a technique that will make your English sound much more natural. Linking sounds. Linking is the way English speakers connect words in a sentence, making them sound like a flowing, continuous stream rather than separate words. This can be tricky for beginners, but once you start practicing, it will add a new level of fluency to your speech. As Walt Whitman said, "Speech is the twin of my vision. It is unequal to measure itself." Linking sounds give speech its rhythm and fluidity, making it easier for listeners to follow along. Let's dive into how linking works and how you can practice it effectively. Why linking sounds is important. In natural spoken English, we rarely pause between each word. Instead, we link the end of one word to the beginning of the next. This connected flow helps English sound smooth and fluent, but it can be challenging for beginners because linked words may sound like a single unit rather than separate words. For example, native speakers don't usually say, "I am going to." Instead, they say, "I'm gonna," or they might say wanna instead of want to. This linking is common in English and makes conversations sound more casual and connected. Learning to link words helps you sound more like a native speaker, which will boost your confidence in speaking. Types of linking in English. There are several types of linking in English that are useful to practice. Let's look at each type and some examples to help you understand how they work. Consonant to vowel linking. This happens when a word ends with a consonant and the next word starts with a vowel. Instead of pausing, the sound flows from the consonant straight into the vowel. Example, come over becomes come over. Practice. Try saying, go away, take it, and give it. Notice how the words link smoothly when the consonant flows into the vowel. Vowel to vowel linking. When one word ends in a vowel sound and the next word begins with a vowel sound, we often insert a slight W or Y sound to link them. Example, I am sounds like I yam, and go out sounds like go woot. Practice. Try saying, do it. He is, and so often. Adding a tiny W or Y sound between vowels helps keep the flow. Linking with weak forms. English has words that are often pronounced in a weak form when they aren't stressed, such as to, of, and, or for. When linked, these words tend to blend with the words around them. Example, going to becomes gonna, and want to becomes wanna. Practice. Try saying sentences like, I'm gonna go. Do you want to come? And she's got to leave. Weak forms help reduce the overall effort of speaking and make you sound more natural. Elision, dropping sounds. Sometimes certain sounds are dropped when words are linked, especially in fast or casual speech. This is called elision. Example, I have to becomes I have to, and kind of becomes kinda. Practice. Say sentences like, I have to go, he kinda knows, and we shoulda gone. Dropping certain sounds isn't necessary, but it's common in conversational English. How to practice linking sounds. Here are some exercises and techniques to help you get comfortable with linking sounds. Shadowing practice. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say, exactly as they say it, right after them. This helps you pick up on linking sounds and practice them in real time. Find a video on Natasha English Academy where I demonstrate linked phrases. Play a short clip, pause it, and try to repeat the linked sounds just as I say them. Chunking phrases. Choose short sentences and practice linking the words as if they're one continuous phrase. Focus on linking consonants to vowels, vowels to vowels, and weak forms. Examples. She went away, can I have it, and give me a moment. Say these sentences slowly at first, concentrating on the smooth connections. Then, as you become more comfortable, try saying them faster and faster. Listening and repeating. Watch videos, listen to podcasts, or use audio recordings where you can hear native speakers. Notice how they link their words and try repeating after them. Try to mimic the speaker's flow as much as possible. This type of imitation is one of the best ways to practice linking sounds. Recording yourself. Choose a paragraph or a set of sentences and read them aloud, focusing on linking the sounds. Record yourself and listen to the playback. This will help you hear where your linking is smooth and where you might need more practice. Linking common expressions. Let's try some common English expressions and see how they're linked in everyday speech. How are you? Often becomes, how are ya? Did you eat? Can sound like DG. What are you doing? Is frequently, what you doing? Practice these linked expressions out loud. Then try them in conversations with friends or in your own practice exercises. As you become more familiar with linked expressions, you'll start to sound more natural when speaking English. Overcoming challenges with linking. Many beginners find linking sounds challenging because it feels unnatural at first. Here are some common difficulties and tips to overcome them. Feeling unnatural. If linking feels awkward, remember that it takes time to get used to. Start slowly with 1 or 2 word connections and gradually work up to longer sentences. Overlinking. Be careful not to overdo linking, especially with formal English. Not all sentences need every word linked. Practice a balance of smooth connections and clear breaks. Not knowing when to link. Listen carefully to native speakers and mimic their natural linking patterns. Watching movies, listening to podcasts, or using video resources on Natasha English Academy will help you develop an ear for when linking sounds natural. Building confidence with linked speech. Linking sounds will become easier the more you practice. At first, try using it in small sentences when practicing alone. Once you feel more confident, try adding linked speech to real conversations. Over time, it will start to feel natural, and you'll notice that people understand you more easily. As the philosopher Confucius said, "It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop." Consistent practice with linking sounds will make a huge difference in your fluency, even if it feels challenging at first. Challenge. Link this phrase. Here's a fun challenge. Try linking this phrase as naturally as possible. Record yourself and see how smooth you can make it sound. I would like to go to the market, but I can't find the time. Notice how each word connects to the next and try to flow smoothly through the sentence. You can comment below with any questions or challenges you're facing with linking. I'd love to hear how your practice is going. Final thoughts on linking. Mastering linking sounds is one of the biggest steps towards sounding fluent in English. It gives your speech a natural flow and makes it easier for native speakers to understand you. At first, it may seem tricky, but with consistent practice, you'll find that linking becomes a normal part of how you speak English. Chapter 6. Using intonation and emotion to bring your words to life. Now that we've gone through phonetic sounds, stress, linking, and all the essentials of pronunciation, it's time to explore the final piece that brings your English speech to life: intonation and emotion. Intonation refers to the rise and fall of pitch in your voice, and it can make your words sound friendly, curious, confident, or excited. When paired with emotion, intonation helps convey your feelings and makes your speech sound more natural and expressive. As Maya Angelou said, "Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning." In this chapter, we'll dive into how to use intonation and emotion to give your English speech a new level of depth and authenticity. Understanding intonation. In English, intonation is like the melody of your speech. When we speak, our pitch naturally goes up and down, creating patterns that convey meaning. These patterns help us emphasize key points, ask questions, and express emotions. Intonation is crucial for effective communication because it tells the listener not just what you're saying, but also how you feel about it. In English, intonation patterns generally fall into three main types. Rising intonation. When your pitch goes up at the end of a sentence or phrase, it typically indicates a question. Example: Are you coming? Practice. Try saying this sentence with a rising tone at the end to turn it into a question. Falling intonation. When your pitch goes down at the end of a sentence, it usually signals a statement or a command. Example: I am here. Practice. Try saying this with a falling tone to make it sound clear and confident. Rise-fall intonation. This pattern is common when listing items or expressing uncertainty. It rises in the middle and falls at the end, giving a natural rhythm to longer sentences. Example: I bought apples, oranges, and bananas. Practice. Try saying this sentence with a rise-fall pattern, emphasizing each item in the list and ending on a lower pitch. These intonation patterns are the basic building blocks for adding clarity and variety to your speech. Practice each one with a few sentences to get comfortable with how they change the feeling of your words. Adding emotion to your intonation. Now that you understand basic intonation patterns, let's explore how to combine them with emotion. When we add feelings to our speech, intonation naturally changes. For example, when we're excited, our pitch might go up, and when we're calm, our tone might be more even. Consider these emotions and how they affect intonation. Excitement. When you're excited, your pitch tends to go up, and you might use a faster pace. Practice. Try saying, "I can't wait for the weekend," with an enthusiastic tone. Notice how your voice naturally rises with excitement. Curiosity. Curiosity often has a rising tone at the end, similar to a question. Practice. Say, "I wonder what's next," with a rising tone to show interest. Seriousness. When you want to sound serious or assertive, your tone is usually steady with a slight drop at the end. Practice. Say, "This is very important," with a calm, even tone. Notice how it sounds more serious when your voice doesn't rise too much. Sadness. When expressing sadness or disappointment, your pitch tends to be lower and your pace might be slower. Practice. Try saying, "I wish things had turned out differently," with a lower, softer tone. Incorporating emotion into your intonation will make your speech more engaging and help you communicate your feelings effectively. If you'd like more examples, check out my videos on Natasha English Academy, where I demonstrate how to add emotion to everyday phrases. Common challenges with intonation and emotion. When learning intonation, you may face some common challenges. Let's look at these and how to overcome them. Sounding monotone. A flat, monotone voice can make you sound uninterested or even robotic. If you struggle with this, practice using rising and falling tones in simple sentences. Start with sentences like, "I'm going to the store," and add intonation to different words. Overdoing intonation. While intonation is important, too much rise and fall can sound unnatural. Aim for a balance by keeping your tone gentle and varying pitch only where it feels natural. Difficulty expressing emotions. Some people feel shy or unsure about showing emotion in their speech. To overcome this, try practicing in front of a mirror or recording yourself. Watch your facial expressions and gestures. They can help you convey emotions more naturally as you practice. Matching intonation with meaning. It's important to match your tone with the meaning of your words. For example, using a rising tone for a serious statement can make it sound like a question. Listen to native speakers and imitate their intonation patterns for various emotions and contexts. Exercises to practice. Intonation and emotion. Here are some simple exercises you can try to improve your intonation and emotional expression. Mimic native speakers. Listen to native English speakers in movies, podcasts, or videos. Try to mimic the way they use intonation and emotion in their sentences. Practice repeating short phrases, paying attention to their tone and rhythm. Emotion variations. Take a single sentence, such as, "I can't believe it," and say it with different emotions. Try excitement, surprise, disappointment, and sarcasm. Notice how your tone changes with each emotion. Record and compare. Record yourself saying sentences with different intonations and emotions. Listen back to see if you're capturing the intended feeling. Compare your recording to a native speaker if possible. Practice in pairs. Find a friend or language partner and practice intonation together. Take turns saying sentences with different emotions. This exercise is a fun way to get immediate feedback and improve your confidence. Use songs and poetry. Songs and poetry are rich in emotional intonation. Choose a favorite song or poem and practice reading or singing along with the original. Pay attention to the rhythm and how it changes with emotion. Bringing it all together. Sounding natural and expressive. Intonation and emotion are like the finishing touches to everything you've learned so far. When you combine these with the phonetic basics, stress, and linking sounds, your English becomes truly expressive. Speaking naturally and with feeling helps you connect with others more easily and makes your message memorable. Remember, this is a journey, and each step is a building block toward fluent, natural English. Don't be afraid to experiment with different tones and emotions as you practice. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, speech is power. Speech is to persuade, to convert, to compel. Let your intonation and emotion empower your English. Final challenge, putting it all together. For this final challenge, choose a short passage, a paragraph from a story, an article, or even a sentence from a movie. Record yourself reading it with all the techniques we've discussed. Use clear pronunciation for each word. Add stress to key words to emphasize meaning. Link sounds to create a smooth flow. Use intonation and emotion to bring the words to life. When you listen back, see if your recording sounds smooth, expressive, and natural. Share your progress in the comments. I'd love to hear how far you've come. A final word. Congratulations on completing this journey to improve your pronunciation. You've learned about phonetic sounds, stress, linking, intonation, and adding emotion. With continued practice, you'll find that these elements become second nature, making your English fluent, confident, and full of life. Keep practicing, stay patient, and don't hesitate to revisit my videos on Natasha English Academy for more guidance. Thank you for joining me in this series, and remember, each time you practice, you're one step closer to the English speaker you want to become. Keep going, and happy speaking.